Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Hardly Working with Alex. It's Friday, October the 17th, and let's go to the goat house. Welcome, everybody, to my 5-acre high desert hideout I call the goat house. It's on 5 acres, 5-acre rectangular plot, which is pretty typical out here in Homestead Valley. The house compound itself is surrounded by a fence, which is about 1 acre in size, and the rest of it is pretty much undeveloped. Like I said, I bought it in 2019. I got it for a really good price. And if you add the mortgage and the insurance and the taxes together, it's about $1,100. You can't even rent a room in Los Angeles, much less have a 5-acre desert compound with all these Joshua trees everywhere. Anyways, one of the greatest features on this house is this huge covered porch in the front. The sun's at an angle because it's October, but in the summer when the sun's high, after about noon, it's shade for the rest of the day. It's a great place to hang out. We have a little fireplace we bring out, chairs, and just have some drinks. Sometimes we've had dinner out here. Really great. The house also includes a 2-car garage. It's huge. It's about 625 square feet. I'll show you that later. Let's take a look at the house. Let's go inside. The house was originally built as a shack in 1957. Then it was rebuilt as this house in 2006. And in 2013, everything was updated and upgraded. Nobody's lived in there till I bought the place in 2019. It's about 920 square feet. It's 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Let me show you around. All right, this is the living room. I love the living room. It's pretty open. It's not the hugest living room in the world, but it's pretty nice. I love it in here. It's comfortable. We watch TV. We usually have our meals in here because we don't have a dining table. There really isn't quite the room in a 920 square foot house, but here we go. When I decorated it, we furnished it pretty much with Wayfair and IKEA furniture. I think it costs like $6,000, $7,000 to do. But I have a lot of friends who are artists. And I said, hey, I need to fill the goat house with some artwork. So I got stuff from each and every one of my friends. This piece right here is by an artist named Hathaway. You know, each and every one of them gave me a great price. I don't remember the name of it, but I love this piece. My friend Ben, my best friend Ben, he drew this QR code by hand. And if you scan it with your phone, it will take you to a web page that he set up that shows the fauna and the flora of around the goat house. I appreciated that. That was pretty clever. My sister-in-law, Amanda Keller, she's a photographer. And this was one of my favorite pictures of hers, and she mounted it nicely for me for the goat house. Neither of these two did I have to pay for. My dad was an artist. This nude was a painting that he painted in the 1970s sometimes. He passed away in 1975, but I have a couple of his pieces in here. So this is my dad. My friend Tracy, when she was an art center, let me get the glare out of there. She did this and used a friend of ours named Carlos as the main subject. This piece is called 10,000 Dogs and Me. I think she's a really great artist. She did this in acrylic. And I'm really glad she sold it to me. She wanted to give it to me. I said, no, you know, that's a lot of work. Let me pay you for it. I gave her a very reasonable amount for it. This painting right here, this small one, this 5x7, it's called the Quechua Tree. It's done by a fellow by the name of Anthony Osgang. He's actually a pretty famous painter, artist. And every one of his paintings are about a cat. That's actually a cat's head that's morphed into a Joshua tree. I saw this of his and I said, can I buy it for my place? And he said, of course you can. And I'm really glad to have that. This light right here is an Art Deco from, I think, the 1920s. I got from Ben as a gift. I broke the globe. It was a yellow globe, but there was a company that makes replacements for it, and I was able to get a replacement for it. My friend Kelly Cracker made us some coasters. And then this is a piece done also by Anthony Osgang, which is, you look, there's a bunch of cats' heads in, well, is that a cat or is it, I don't know, some animals, but it's got heads within his mouth. Anyways, this was a kind of limited edition toy thing that he did, and I got one of those. All right. This is by my friend Kelly Cracker. This is a diorama. It's called Spectacle that she did. If you know, this is very 3D layered diorama within a frame. What do you call those frames? I don't know. Anyways, I like this piece. I'm really glad my friends helped me with this project, and they were really nice with the prices and stuff like that. Okay, this piece right here, I think it's called Lost Cat. Let me step back a bit. My friend Russ Miller, I went to high school with Russ Miller back in the early 80s, and he lives in South Dakota. There's a lot of, let's call it abstract type art. I like this piece and said, hey, sell this one to me and I'll put it in the goat house. And I'll remember about all my friends and how talented they are. This piece right here was done by a friend of mine named Jason Hadley. He was in a band called Wood Pussy, and he does a lot of work. It's kind of dark stuff, but I really like this piece. And I said, sell it to me, and he sold it to me cheap. Anyways, so that's the living room. There's a lot of my friends' artwork in. I try to make it look good despite the fact that I had a limited budget. I think this carpet was one of the most expensive things. It listed for $1,200, but I got on sale for like $300 or $400. I really like it. Anyway, so here we go into the kitchen. The kitchen is huge. Though we don't have a dinette, we have a little nookie type table. My wife loves this kitchen because it has so much counter space. All these appliances came with the place and they were pretty much new. Look at all this counter space. Absolutely insane. Our place in Pasadena is very limited counter space, so my wife loves coming in here. She cooks, she's a great cook, and she just loves the fact that you can spread out. Dishwasher, this is the first dishwasher I've ever owned in my life. It's really convenient when I'm up here. On a weekend, I just shove the dishes in there and run it on my way out. Appliances, everything. It's very light. Here's a stove and oven. It runs off propane. It runs really hot. It's really hard to simmer stuff on it, but it works. Lots and lots of cabinet space. In here, there's a closet that we use for storage, but also a washer and dryer I'm having hooked up now. Okay, as we go through the hallway, here's the main bathroom. It's not big, but it has everything you need. A sink, toilet, shower, and full tub. I kind of try to keep a kind of UFO theme here along with Lander stuff. Here's a alien skull that I found on my 3D printer after about 8 hours of printing. Here's the hallway. Here's some more artwork. This was also done by Kelly Cracker, the one who did the diorama. This was a gift, a housewarming gift for us. when we bought the place. This is another nude my father painted, I think back in the 60s. Teal Hathaway, the first piece I showed you, that large drawing. This is a, well, let me get the glare out of here. This is a 14 color lithograph that she did, a limited edition. I really like that. The original piece is so big it probably wouldn't even fit on any of the walls. Let's continue the bedroom. Here's the master bedroom. I don't have any pictures up here yet. No pictures. I need to do that. This is where my wife and I, it's where we sleep and hang out. What I like about the back door is it's got these swinging open doors that goes into the yard. A nice view over the bed. There we are. This is me and my wife when we first started dating around 2011. There you go, we have a TV in here, some seats. There's a closet. If you notice, there's a lot more hangers than clothes, but I keep some clothes up here, just so I don't have to bring clothes up. The master bedroom has its own bathroom, which also has a full tub and shower, toilet. Let's go in here. Everything works, everything's new, everything's updated, nothing's old. When you buy a lot of the places up here, they're they're just old. They haven't been updated. They've got this horrible carpeting and this wood paneling. And this place, just everything was updated, everything was new, didn't need anything. We have a guest room. This is the Graham Parker guest suite. This is when we have guests. We have an extra bed in here. I have a lot of my stuff. Here's my old Marshall amp from the days I used to play in bands and stuff. I'm sure I'll tell you about that someday. Here's some of my 3D printers where I print alien heads. But this is basically a closet that has no clothes in it at this point because we really haven't. Hey, ask me about how my brother and I tap danced on a xylophone for a living while we were kids. I'm sure I'll have a story about that. It is looking out to the backyard. Look at those Joshua trees. It's absolutely beautiful today. Sunny, warm, but not hot. Here are more pictures of my family tap dancing on a xylophone. What's that about? Tap dancing on a xylophone? That's crazy. My friend Brady Rifkin, he died of cancer a few years ago. His wife and his kids put this Peter Criss puzzle together. I said I wanted to buy it from him because it was for sale. He sells records and things like that. I said, but I don't want you to take it apart. And I took it as it was, as they made it, and I mounted it. I miss Brady. He's a really great guy. Here's some of the parts that I manufacture in my shop. These all are, I guess, rejected, but parts that go onto aircraft. There's a wing rib. There's an interesting story about this pronghorn. I got it from my friend Dave Lewis, who used to work at the Bayou Bar Club in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And, they had bands, and it was a pretty cool place. And in the movie Sex, Lives, and Videotapes, they shot a couple scenes in the bayou, and you can see this pronghorn in the movie. These days, he's just pretty much a hat rack for me. Anyways, got a full-size bed here for guests who want to stay. We can also open the couch in the living room and make a queen-size bed out of that for when we have guests. Okay, velvet paintings. When I was looking for artwork here, I found a place. I think it's called Velvetify. It's almost like a warehouse that warehouses Mexican velvet painters stuff, and you can order anything. And this is one piece each of every one of the 6 artists that were around. Of course, Lemmy, this is before he passed away, huge Motorhead fan. Hulk Hogan, I thought this was kind of ridiculous. And each one of these is a different artist. Marilyn Monroe Sugar Skull. That's always interesting. Bigfoot. Tony Montana, man. And this one's probably the only serious one. This is one of those tiki ones. This one's called the Sentinel. I've always liked velvet painting, so I decided to buy one piece from each of these 6 artists that are currently painting in Mexico. Anyways, that's pretty much it. That's a tour of the house. Onto the grounds. Yeah, okay, this house has got 200 amps service to the house. There's a 50 amp sub box to the garage. I'll show you the garage. Oh, this is really cool. Here's this Joshua tree. It stands about, I don't know, 25 feet tall. The real estate agent said that this Joshua tree would be about 500-600 years old. Is that true? I don't know. Did he say that to sell the house? Could be. Maybe it's 500-600 years old. Let's check out the garage. The house has central air and the sewer is septic. Here we go. Here's the garage. Here are my quads. I've got a Honda Recon. This is this Chinese Tao Rhino 250 kit that I got. It's a red sticker thing. I just put it around the yard, and if somebody else wants to come along, this is a 2006 Honda TRX 250, and this is my wife's Honda 150 CRF toolbox. Let me step back and try to give you an idea of this huge garage. It's 625 square feet. 625 square feet. You know, right now we're just storing stuff in it for the house, the quads, keep them secured. There's all my camping gear, and I have a small 4-person hot tub back here. Really nice. You open up the door and you can see the stars and hot tub away. There's the 50 amp service for the garage itself. We also got enclosed this 8x12 shed. It's brand new. It was brand new. There wasn't a thing in it. I mean, the garage is so big, and you can see that that's not filled up. What I'm doing to it right now, I put those windows in it, and I'm finishing the inside to make a bunkhouse out of it. You know, we're going to finish the walls. I think I'm going to do a pine tongue and groove, put down some rugs, put down a bed, some tables and things, and if for guests who stay with us can be out here, we'll put a small air conditioner into it. Try to make it as comfortable as possible when we have more guests here. My wife has a huge family. Her family is just huge. She has 28 cousins. And when they come visit, we're gonna have to put them somewhere. There you go, there's that huge Joshua tree. Let me do a pan around. There's the back of the house. Those are those dual doors that open up into the back. You can see the fence that surrounds the compound. There's a fire pit right there that I dug. Great to have some outdoor fire pit stuff. I love fires. Anyways, this is the 1 acre enclosed area in the house. Creosote bushes, Joshua trees everywhere. This is just some old pallets and wood that I have available for the fire pit here. The gas, the heating runs off propane. So we have a 250 gallon propane tank. There's the central air unit. Central air is really nice in the summer. Right. So that's it. That's generally the property. Okay, so what this channel is about and how this place fits into all that is, this is a channel about my transition over the next 4 years of working to being retired, working part-time, but mostly being retired. This place, I knew that Los Angeles was gonna be really expensive in 2019. Let's see, I was about 55 years old. And I was starting to think like, wow, in 10 years I'm gonna retire. And I'm gonna be on a limited income, Social Security, retirement investments, and for until 67, basically $23,000 worth of work that I do. So, you know, I said, okay, I gotta think this out. And I really love this area. up around Joshua Tree. And I knew some people who bought some places around here close to me within a very short car ride. I've got about a dozen friends who I knew in LA and who bought property up here. And I thought, you know what? I could get a place. And at that time, the houses places like this were going for around $150,000. And I said, you know what? I can afford that. I'm going to get me one of these. And I came up here, you know, several weeks in a row with a real estate agent looking at places. And there were a lot of them. A lot of them would have been really good around that price. I told him I really didn't want to pay more. I want to get the best place I could. And I was looking more down in Yucca Valley and the Yucca Mesa, around that area. And, you know, I mean, the houses were okay, but they all had this horrible carpeting and this wood paneling. Every single one of them had this add-on that you just knew wasn't anywhere near to code, and you were gonna have to buy it as is. And he brought me farther north, you know, more in unincorporated desert area that's similar to Landers and Flamingo Heights and Johnson Valley. And he showed me this place. And he showed it to me twice. It was a little bit more than the rest of the house. It's not that much more. And I loved it, but I thought, this would be great for some like cute, you know, kind of cool couple. That's what I pictured. Great place, but it's not for me. Let's keep looking. But I kept thinking about this place. And I said, why not me? Why not? I love the place. For some reason, I just didn't picture myself in it. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? That's a great place. And it was more than 150. It was at 175. But the thing is that everything was redone. This didn't need a single thing. I didn't need to replace the carpeting. I didn't need to repaint it. I didn't need to take out some horrible paneling. It wasn't like lived in. It was unlived in. It was like a freshly built place, because everything was redone in 2013 and just mothballed. So I called my travel agent and I said, buy me that house. And after about a month in escrow, it went through and I own the house. And this is where I'm going to come to retire. This is going to be my home base, where I can go camping from, go on trips from where I'm at. You know, it's a 15-minute ride into Yucca Valley or Joshua Tree, or 29 Palms is a little bit farther. Less than an hour away is Palm Springs. Los Angeles, where all my friends are, is 2.5 to 4.5 hours, depending on traffic. The fastest I ever came out here door to door with no pit stops was 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's typically 2.5 to 3.5 hours. And I'm back in LA. It's not far. From here, 3 hours down the 10 is Quartzsite. From here in Arizona, which I want to check out. And to the west, within an hour, you're in Big Bear and Lake Arrowhead. So though this property is somewhat rural, you know, it's in an unincorporated area, it's really close to everything I need. Really close. There's on the 247, there are gas stations and convenience stores and some restaurants and some places like that. If you need something quick, there's a Dollar General. And then if you need to go into town, which in Joshua Tree and Yucca Valley, there's everything. There's supermarkets. There's, you know, just pretty much anything that a city with tens of thousands of people would have. Convenience stores, bars, restaurants, stores. You know, if you need to buy furniture, they've got a lot. If you've ever been to Joshua Tree, it's just really great, the shops and things that they have. So anyways, I wanted to show you the house. I really love it up here. My wife and I come up here all the time. I've spent up to a week out here. It's just quiet, it's nice. And like I said, there's a dozen people that I know that are anywhere from good friends to friendly acquaintances who used to live in Los Angeles, who live nearby. It's not like I don't know anybody here, and trying to get to know the neighbors. Even though out here people want, you know, they just leave you alone and want to be left alone.
Got a lot of TIs out here, self-professed TIs. Look that up. Anyways, so I hope to do more things about my retirement. You know, I'm not going to do how-tos. I'm not going to do a how-to of how to finish the inside of a shed to make it into a little cozy cabin. There's a billion YouTube guys who do that, and they'll do a way better job than me. You know, I'm not going to show you the process of stuff, but I just want to talk about this process of retiring. Maybe we could do it together. Other people around my age thinking about what are you going to do? I'll share my ideas. This house here was an idea of where I could live someplace comfortably and affordably, someplace I'd love to live, and do the things I want to do. I could work part-time. I could go on the road part-time. I could work on the road. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Anyways, until the next time we talk, I'm hardly working, and I'll see you next time.